and welcome to our Lunch and Learn for today. I hope you've got your lunch and you're all sorted. I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Ellie. I work for the VITD and I'm stepping in for Anna. So I'm putting the hosting hat on today. So apologies for any fumbles or anything that I miss. You can pull me up at the end of the session. So I'd just like to introduce you to Mitch McMurray from Checkpoint. He'll be joining and presenting to us today on the topic of email security in the age of AI. So as we know, email continues to be one of the primary ways organisations are targeted. And with AI now in the mix, it's becoming harder than ever to spot what is a legitimate spam or what is not. So having Mitch here today, he's going to provide us with some practical high-level insights and how we can, understand email threat landscape and how it's evolved over, I think it's the last 25 years you were going to talk to, Mitch, and what organisations should be aware of moving forward. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to you, Mitch. And if you guys have any questions, please pop them in the chat Q&A. And if there's time, we will circle back and Mitch and some of our team will be more than happy to assist. Okay, thanks guys, take it away.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ellie. And hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. My name, as Ellie said, is Mitch McMurray. I work as the ANZ Strategic Partner Manager for Checkpoint. And our email security product is one of those that is very, very popular and a strong representation in the region here. So what I'll do is just share my screen, run through a very quick agenda, and then move on with things. Alrighty, so what we're going to be looking at today are a couple of different dot points. First, starting off with the ANZ email threat landscape, then moving on to the history of email security, how it's kind of evolved over the years, maybe the last 25 years or so since the early 2000s. I'll then touch on the Checkpoint difference and what our email security solution is and how it works and how it differentiates from some of the other players in the market, followed up by how we're leveraging AI for email security. And then obviously if people are interested in exploring this a little bit further, VITD are experts in our solution. They've been representing it for a little while now, and they'd be more than happy to assist with further exploration, including a trial, 2-week proof of concept, things like that. At the end, if we have some time, we'll go through the questions. So the email security market, what does it look like at the moment? If you weren't aware, email remains the #1 threat vector in the market at the moment, with over 93% of attacks starting with email. But protecting your inbox is not enough anymore, because 46% of malicious downloads are coming from the collaboration suite. So when we're thinking of email security, it's important to also think about the collaboration tools that are peripheral to email, like SharePoint, Slack, OneDrive, etc. And finally, when you're thinking about email security, you just want a solution that's going to work, right? You don't want something that's going to create a lot of noise, have emails being caught up in quarantine, etc., etc. So something that's effective and efficient is going to be ideal. Now, I know there's a lot of text on this slide, but at Checkpoint, we have a research team and we can pull live data from different timeframes. So what I've done is pulled a couple of interesting stats from the last 30 days across Australia and New Zealand specifically. So as you can read, I'm not going to go through all the points on the screen here, but a lot of emails are sent on a daily basis. Nearly 70% of all the files being distributed, all malicious files are distributed by email, about 1 in 1,500 are malicious, etc., etc. You can read there. But the one point that I really do want to highlight here, businesses are using a lot more AI. And at the bottom there, you can see an attack that's popped up this month. And researchers found that there was an email phishing campaign that's effectively impersonating Anthropic's Claude AI with a fake installer. And victims are basically downloading this. It's popping in a working application there, and then uploading or downloading, malware called PlugX into the devices that are being accessed here, and then it's giving those attackers remote access there. So if we could stop that phishing campaign in the first place, then none of the rest of this would be happening there. So be very careful with what you're downloading, especially if you're seeing stuff coming from users that you are not familiar with. I want to take everyone just through a little bit of a journey and how email security has evolved since the early 2000s. So as some of you may or may not know, back in the early 2000s, this was effectively the standard setup for an office or a business where they would have an on-prem Exchange server that would manage their mail, and then they'd typically have a secure email gateway that would sit in front of that. And the purpose of a secure email gateway is to prevent malicious emails from hitting that on-prem Exchange server and then onto the users. Now, in 2013, most businesses moved to the cloud, to Office 365, to Google Workspace, used collaboration tools like the ones you see on the screen here. And you can see down the bottom there, the prevalence of on-prem Exchange servers really shrunk. I think about 95% of businesses in Australia and New Zealand have moved to these cloud solutions like Office 365 and Google Workspace. Only about 5% still with on-prem Exchange servers there. Now, the problem with the way that email security was traditionally being done was secure email gateways were designed to protect on-prem Exchange servers. But when the architecture changed and people moved to the cloud, the secure email gateways weren't quite as effective as they used to be. So one of the things to keep in mind is if you have a Microsoft first strategy, that will typically, depending on your licenses, come with Microsoft Defender, which is the native email security defense by Microsoft. Now, when you use a secure email gateway, it's not possible to use Defender. So you're going against that Microsoft strategy by using a secure email gateway. The technical reasons we can get to later, but effectively the MX records are not pointing internally to Microsoft anymore. Now, as a result, there are pretty big gaps in security. It takes a lot of time to set up a secure email gateway. Those MX-based record changes are quite time consuming there. It's also blind to what's happening in the cloud. So you're not getting that protection for the collaboration suite and the other applications that are there. And it can quite easily be bypassed as well. As a result, you end up with pretty large gaps in security. So when we look at the last point on the right there, limited internal or outbound protection for mail, this is referring to business email compromise. So if a user internally has been compromised, the secure email gateways don't really have a very good ability to detect that and prevent the malicious outcomes of business email compromise. When a user is compromised, they're typically, the bad actors or the attackers are typically using that compromised mailbox to send internal mail to colleagues and trick them into doing things they shouldn't be doing, or to your customers. And we call that a supply chain attack. And it is quite dangerous if you don't have a solution that can detect and prevent the malicious aspects of that. Now, a couple of years later, Gartner came out and said secure email gateways alone are not enough anymore. You also need an API-based solution. Now, I don't know about you and your tech budgets, but we find it difficult enough to convince people to buy one solution to solve a problem, let alone two. So in this instance, Gartner was saying that you need a secure email gateway and an API-based solution to prevent from attacks. And effectively, the way that this would work is the secure email gateway is still trying to do the prevention up front and stopping something malicious from coming in. And the API-based solution is doing the detection and the remediation if something was to enter the inbox. So in this instance, the mail flow would be malicious email is sent. Typically, it only takes an end user 82 seconds to click on a link, whether that is malicious or not. In that time, the API solution is trying to detect and remediate that. Maybe it doesn't do it quickly enough and the user is compromised anyway. But if it does, then obviously it will detect and remove that. So a lot going on here. Now, as far as how we differentiate ourselves and the way that Checkpoint has managed to, put a good foot forward here, is you don't need a secure email gateway. You don't need an API-based solution. The Checkpoint solution is actually within the Microsoft or the Google tenancy. So it's deployed at the Graph API level. We also work in conjunction with Defender, and we have a patent with Microsoft that allows you to manage the security events in Defender through the one portal with Checkpoint. So it makes it a much easier experience for everyone involved. And we are doing the job of both the secure email gateway and the API-based email security solution at the same time. We're doing the prevention up front, and we're doing the detection, the remediation in the back end, as well as protecting the collaboration suite. One of the big strong points of doing things this way is it allows you to protect from business email compromise. As I mentioned before, the secure email gateways didn't have a very strong ability to do. So I can touch on exactly how that happens later, but effectively, if a user is compromised, we can lock down that account, force password resets, and the, I suppose, negative nature of having that happen to you is not as bad because it can be detected and shut down before it becomes dangerous. We are also acting as the last stop for the inbox. So effectively, if you're using Defender as well as Checkpoint, Defender will scan and do its job as it does, and we will check its homework, so to speak, and make sure that it's spitting out the right things and blocking the right things before it hits your inbox. So it's a second layer of security, effectively. Now, the way that we are able to have the highest catch rates in the industry from a phishing and malware perspective is our usage of AI. So Checkpoint has something called Threat Cloud AI, and it is the largest repository of cyber threats globally. So for context, Google has a similar engine that does about 10 billion transactions a day. And when I say transactions, I mean emails analyzed, I mean websites analyzed, things like that. Checkpoint's engine does about 80 billion. And this Threat Cloud AI powers all of Checkpoint's products, not just email security. So it could be firewalls, it could be SASE, it could be a whole bunch of different solutions that are all powered by this same shared intelligence model. And the way that it works effectively, this is an example that happened a little while ago. There was a malware that was detected by one of our quantum firewalls in Italy. Within a couple of seconds, Threat Cloud AI determined that that was a malicious zero-day malware attack, shared that intelligence with the rest of our products, including the email security product, which means that that zero-day attack is not really a zero-day attack anymore because the entire product suite at Checkpoint is informed of that. And if something like that was, or if that attack was to hit you the following day, for example, you would be completely protected against that. Now, this was a study that was done a little while ago where over 300 million emails were analyzed. In the top right-hand corner, you can see. And we broke it down to how many phishing emails different solutions were missing per 100,000 emails sent. Now, I've taken some of the names out of here where it says Secure Email Gateway, just to be friendly, but you can see the Secure Email Gateways are not nearly as effective as the Checkpoint solution was. We saw that on the higher end, this solution was missing about 1,200 phishing emails per 100,000 emails sent, and Checkpoint was missing 10. So obviously no solution is completely impenetrable, but when you look at the difference in the efficacy rates, it is significant. Now, this is an example of how the system actually determines something is malicious. So in this instance, you can see Microsoft has marked this as clean. You're using a second layer of defense in this example being Checkpoint. We are rechecking that before it hits the inbox and posting reasons for why we've determined that as phishing. Now, within our solution, we have many different ways of determining things. We have sandboxing functionality. We have safe links, all these types of things where when someone actually clicks something, within that kind of 1 second window, it's going to spin this up in a safe environment, test it, make sure it's okay, and then give reasoning behind why it may have been blocked if it was. Let me just skip to here. So this is a little video of how this is kind of done live. So in this instance, someone has clicked, sorry, the video is freezing on me. There we go. Someone has clicked a link in an email. Within the couple seconds that it says scanning, it's Threat Cloud AI is doing what it says on the right-hand side to actually check whether this is safe or not. So it'll look at things like visual similarity to the actual website, IP reputation, domain reputation, if the text is similar, when the domain was registered. all these different things within, you know, the 1-2 seconds after you click the link to determine if it's safe or not. And if it is not, then it will obviously block the user from visiting that site. Now, a lot of hackers, a lot of bad actors, they like to send emails that are actually safe, with a link in there that is not weaponized. It's a safe link, and no system is going to block that because there's nothing wrong with that email, right? Unless it's determined as spam. But what some of these hackers or these bad actors are doing is sending a safe email and then a couple of days later changing the URL or changing the website that it takes you to something malicious. Now, the way that we kind of prevent against that is this click time protection that this video just showed you, because each time a link is clicked, it's going to reanalyze that, not just the first time that the email comes through. This is another example that shows some of the emulation functionality that we have. So in a similar instance, a zip file was sent. There were 2 malicious URLs inside this zip file. When the email came through, our solution unzipped the file in a sandboxed environment. It opened those links and then showed exactly what would have happened in these emulation videos. So you can see exactly what would have happened if this wasn't in place. And all of this can be shown through those kind of proof of concept exercises, which VITD can assist with as well. Each time, this is an optional feature, can be turned on or off, but this is a feature that effectively allows you to remove any threats from documents that are sent. So let's say an original document was sent via email, via attachment. The checkpoint threat extraction filter is going to put that original document through it, reconstruct it, remove anything that may have been malicious, including things like QR codes, links, you know, embedded code and images, things like that. We've talked about business email compromise a little bit already. I just want to kind of highlight the point around this because it is a very topical point of conversation at the moment. So for people, I think we've already explained this well enough, but effectively there are 2 different ways that this can, or multiple different ways this can go down. But a hacker is effectively either trying to compromise a partner or a person. So you can either go through the business that's working with you or a person within your business. They then target a particular user that may be one of your customers or something like that. And then there are different ways that they can use that access to that login, that compromised business account, whether it's extortion, ransomware, you know, sending fake invoices or changing bank account details to have payments go to. Either way, it's not good. Now, the way that we kind of combat this, well, there are multiple ways. So firstly, we're checking IP address of login events, whether those are successful or not. So let's say you're based in Melbourne, and then someone tries to log into your account from Europe within 1 hour of you being logged in. That's an impossible travel event for a human, and it will block that login attempt. Even if it is an unsuccessful login attempt, it'll notify you that someone's trying to log into this account. Also, typically, if a hacker takes over an account, the first thing that they'll do is change mail flow rules so that you're not aware that that's actually happened. So if mail flow rules are being changed, we will also flag that. And then if it meets the criteria of compromised, we will go in, lock that account down, force password resets, and stop the risk before it actually begins. Now, just to kind of wrap things up a little bit before we move on to questions, our base solution includes a lot. So we've talked about a couple of these already, but phishing and malware, obviously, sandboxing, content disarmament, deconstruction, URL rewriting are all part of the kind of base package that we have. We also have DLP and encryption functionality if that's a requirement. And then we have a list of different add-ons that serve different purposes, obviously. So archiving, so if from a compliance perspective, you need to keep data for 7 years, 10 years, whatever it is, we can help with that. Incident response as a service. So that's an additional layer of support that Checkpoint can assist with from an incident response perspective. DMARC management, security awareness training is obviously essential for employees. Obviously, you want good solutions in place that are going to stop what you can, but also the education of staff is really key to making sure these threats are not coming into your environment more frequently. And then finally, external risk management. So this is part of a wider platform that we have as a standalone product, but it exists as an add-on for our email security solution, looking at dark web monitoring, leak credentials. So, if there's someone in your organization who seems to always be compromised or being attacked, this could really help understand why, in maybe the fact that they're using corporate email addresses and the same password in websites that they shouldn't be, and it'll obviously notify you of things like that. But I might just leave this on the screen for a moment and take a pause if there are any questions at all from the crowd in the chat.
I haven't had anything come through just yet, Mitch, but I'm sure if we give it a minute after everyone digests, I'm sure there will be something that comes through.
Okay, no problem.
Actually, I've got one, and I apologize if maybe that was in the facts that you had presented earlier. You talk about AI is obviously becoming more prevalent as some of those targeted emails, and that's how they're curated. How do you think it sits at the moment with actual people behind the keyboard doing it versus the AI creation of it all happening?
So do you mean the usage of AI or the impact?
Well, yeah, I guess so, because obviously, years and years and years ago, AI wasn't around, so it was, little keyboard warriors behind their screens doing all the hard work, versus how much of it now is people still physically doing it versus, just using and manipulating AI to do that.
Yeah, well, I think for a long time, the cyber criminal industry has gone from being, random hackers in their basements, trying their best to steal credentials from anyone that they possibly can, to really quite high organized crime, where it's a multi-billion, trillion-dollar industry, where there are very large criminal organizations who are effectively sitting there hiring very smart people to try and steal people's information, whether those are credit card details, accounts, whatever else it might be. And with the prevalence of AI, that's just made them more efficient. They're able to put things together much faster, just like we are, and they're able to use much more complicated threat attack vectors. People or a lot of businesses are now trying to use agentic AI within their businesses and see how they can further operationalize and make things more efficient for them. But obviously, agentic AI without security around agentic AI is very dangerous, because these agents have access to so much data and it's pulling stuff across different systems, and the surface attack is a lot larger now than it used to be. The surface area of attack is a lot larger now than it used to be.
Okay, great, thank you. Yep. Oh, I do have someone. We've got Andrea. She's just posting a question that they're coming through now, Mitch.
Right.
So let's just see. So thanks, Andrea. So Andrea's asked, what are you seeing most often? External AI threats against businesses or internal risk from staff using AI tools without proper controls?
I think it's a bit of column A and a bit of column B, to be honest. When we're talking about internal use of AI, some organizations are going and saying, hey, we're not allowing AI usage because we don't know how to control it. Others are saying, yes, we're allowed to use this one platform. Others don't have very smart policies in place, and people can just use whatever they want, and it's risky, right? Because you're giving the trust in your people that they're not putting the wrong information in the wrong systems, in public LLMs and things like that. So I think from an internal perspective, it's important that you control what people are using from an AI and application perspective. Having DLP or data loss prevention policies in place so that people can't upload proprietary information that you don't want leaving the organization into public LLMs. And if you're banning the use of AI entirely within the organization, you're going to get shadow AI usage where people will use it anyway, because it will make them more efficient. So I think it's about, enabling your employees, but also putting smart controls in place so that you're not putting yourself as a business at risk.
Yeah, I think that's a great one when you talk about businesses banning it altogether. It's like telling a child that they can't do something, so they want to do it even more, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, beautiful, fantastic. Well, I think if we have any other questions, Jacob looks like he might be asking one. We have time for one more because we are mindful that we are taking precious time out of your day while you're probably eating your lunch, and we'd love for you to get back to doing what you need to do. So Jacob has said email filtering has become very good at stopping obvious threats. Where do you still see organizations getting caught out, even with modern tools in place?
So we went to our sales kickoff in Bangkok in March, and some of the stuff that they were showing us on stage of how people are attacking organizations is insane. So there was one that they showed us where effectively a lot of organizations are now using things like Copilot in their just everyday life, whether it's, hey, summarize this email for me, or hey, help me respond to this, or whatever it might be. But there was this particular attack that we were shown where attackers would send an email with an embedded image or something like that, whether it's a logo or an image or something that had some execution code in it for an AI like Copilot to actually run. So within the back, you can't see it with your eyes, but in the code of that image, there would be a prompt for the Copilot agent to go and do something that you obviously don't want it to do. And when the Copilot agent is ingesting this information to then help you with something, it's also ingesting that prompt and then running something that it shouldn't be running and getting around parameters in crazy ways like that. So having really advanced email security tools and other security tools in place is really important because it can help block those things that, as you said, are less obvious.
Fabulous. Thanks, Mitch. Hopefully you got what you needed there, Jacob. Once the questions start, they start rolling, Mitch. So we do have one more. So thanks, Peter. Okay. He says, as we consider using Copilot, is there protection built in to stop an agent opening unsafe links or compromising security? Or is that something that we need to build into any agents that we create?
Look, there'll be a lot of different security solutions out there that can help with things like that. When we're talking about email security in particular, we are looking at all of the links that come through, whether it's a email coming through for the first time, or as I said before, an email that's come into your inbox and then not been open for 2 weeks, and then you click that link again, we're reanalyzing that again. As far as the integration with Copilot and the ability to I suppose stop Copilot from opening something, it's something that I'm probably going to have to check on, unless Jacob, you know the answer to that one.
I don't have a super direct answer. The biggest thing will be it's going to be a combination of the tools in your security stack. So, for example, one of the tools that we're in the process of rolling out is a tool called DefenseX, which to oversimplify is filtering of what websites you can access, as well as recognizing when something looks like another site, much like the link. I'm forgetting the actual product name, but the link checking built into Avanan itself. Similar kind of thing there.
Yeah, the QuickTime protection.
Wonderful. I think that might be all we have time for. I'm mindful it's 12:30 now. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for joining us today, and a big thank you to Mitch for spending his possibly lunch break with us, sharing some very useful and great takeaways with us today. So thank you, Mitch. We appreciate your time and your knowledge. And after this, we will prepare the recording and that will be made available shortly to all of you. And we will have that sent through via email. But if you do have any further questions from us here at the Virtual IT Department or even Mitch, please shoot them through. We'll be happy to try and get an answer for you and give you an update on that.